Hello, everybody, and welcome to the World Changing Podcast. This is Jordan Rosario coming to you on a crisp, beautiful Monday afternoon out here in Denver, Colorado. Daylight savings time is approaching, so as I record, even though it looks like it's the afternoon, it is definitely feeling like it is the early evening. But to go ahead and help me cap off such an amazing day, such an amazing start to the week, I have got one of my dear friends, and I know I see the word dear friend a whole lot when it comes to this show, but as we go ahead and as we tell a story about how we met, you can certainly understand exactly how much appreciation, how much gratitude that she is a part of my network, a part of my circle. And I'm super grateful to have the host of the Ghosted Podcast and the founder, director, CEO of Thesocialmm Matchmaking, Abby Rosenblum on the set. Abby, tell me a story. How is your day, week, Halloween? Let's just get into all of it. How are you doing?
Okay, I'm doing great. I mean, now that I'm here with you, I think this is awesome. I'm super excited to be on the podcast. Thank you for having me. Thank you for that intro. I've actually had a great day. We're in Denver. It's always nice. So get to enjoy the sunshine. But you're right. It's weird because it's already getting dark outside and I'm very confused. Daylight saving time is not making sense to me.
No, it never makes sense. And one of the things that I noticed out here in Denver, especially, I want to say last weekend, we had our first snowfall of the year.
Yes.
And to a lot of people, it's like, wait, you guys already have snow? Isn't it like October? And I say to that, yes. In Denver, it snows here a little bit earlier than you guys. So we get that privilege, in a matter of speaking, of getting some of that freshly covered snow. And so the ski lodges to the west of us are already planning out a fantastic ski season, fantastic winter sports season. And I don't know about you, but I look forward to the winter. I look forward to the snow. I look forward to seeing the turn of this year as we move forward into 2023.
I love the winter. I am so there with you. So I think we're both maybe in the minority there, but I love when it snows. I get excited. I don't like that people drive like idiots in it, but we get to do all kinds of fun things and, stay at home and, do game nights with friends and drink hot chocolate. Cause I guess that's what I do these days.
There is nothing wrong with hot chocolate. Nothing wrong with apple cider,
Right?
by the way. Both are wonderfully delicious, and absolutely stay away from the winter pedestrians as much as you can, because we love each and every one of you beautiful souls. But in Denver specifically, and you're not the first one, you're not the last one, they kind of do drive like, not of driving capacity, let's say.
Right. I mean, you're at least from the East Coast, so I feel like you're used to way worse. But, everyone else, the people from Texas, I don't know.
I mean, I don't want to necessarily get into driving or driving skill. I don't know if that is necessarily
let's not get into
my
that debate.
department or not the time or place. But what is the time? What is the place? What is the story? I want to go ahead and, before we even talk about what you do, what your business are, what your podcast does, I want to take everybody way, 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 way back. So as you can see on my head, this is my favorite hat that says, "Let me tell you a story." And do I have a story to tell? So let's take everyone back to 2018, where I had a few less wrinkles on my head and I had a few less gray hairs on this fantastic beard that you see before you.
Any gray hairs or wrinkles, just for the record.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. By the way, your check is in the mail, I promise. But anyway, let me go ahead and take everybody back. So we were at a particular league. It was called Play for Mile High Sports back in the day. I believe now it's called Volo Sports. But there was this particular sport that was absolutely amazing called beer in hand kickball. Now, what is beer in hand kickball? A lot of our audience is asking. Well, beer in hand kickball is essentially a game where you play kickball, but instead of, the normal way that you play kickball, we have to go ahead and do a unique way of playing, which is I have one hand ready to catch, and I've got one hand of beer in a cup. So, long
The
story
cup is
short,
key. You don't just have beer in your hand.
I know, right? I mean, you could have beer in your hand, but it would get all,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to get into that right now. This is not the time or the place. But so I want to go ahead and take us all the way towards the end of fall of, I believe it was 2018, if I'm not mistaken, the last couple of weeks before we are done with this season. And that's how you know the universe is kind of one of those things. I preach about it. The universe has a weird way of allowing people to meet up. So we're done with the playoffs, and we're about ready to say goodbye to everybody. Granted, I have no idea who this Abby girl is, and Abby comes to me at the last couple of weeks and correct me if I'm wrong, but at that point you had introduced not only myself to but a couple of people along with your friend Liz at the time, where you were like, hey, I'm about to launch this particular business called Thesocialmm. We're about to have our launch party at this spa. You should come along.
I'm pretty sure that's what I said. I hope that's what I said, because I know I also might have just said, hey, you single?
I feel like that was also a question.
I think it was. I feel like I was much bolder back then. I was still working on my, way to get new people into my circle. But, you stuck around. It didn't scare you off. It was good.
No, listen, for me, I love the direct approach. Sometimes for me, I understand if you don't say anything direct to me, if you try to kind of go at me, what's the word I'm looking for? Not sideways, but basically, if you don't come at me direct, I kind of am one of these particular individuals that's so tunnel vision, narrow-minded vision, whatever you want to call it, that I will have no clue on subtlety. I am not that particular type of individual. So direct was the right way to approach me when you were talking about this.
You were receptive. And I think we also should probably point out that after beer in hand kickball, we've also played competitive flip cup. So both of us probably had maybe a few too many beers at this point as well.
Maybe that is something we want to go ahead and document for the record. But
yeah,
after that fantastic league, apparently we did not, what's the word I'm looking for? The beers did not affect our friendship, let's say, because after all that time, I've seen your particular business grow. And now with the podcast, the Ghosted Podcast, which I know you've had for a couple of years, but to see that combined with the success the social modern matchmaking has had, Abby, and will continue to have throughout the future, it is clear to me that this idea that you brought along when we first met has grown into something absolutely amazing and absolutely special.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I think it's, hard, as a fellow entrepreneur, sometimes you're so ingrained in your business, you forget exactly, okay, wait, what's the bigger picture? And you have to remind yourself what that is and what the why is of why you're doing this. But it is crazy just to look back on, 4 years ago. I did not think this would be my full-time job. I thought it was just kind of a fun side project of hooking people up and matchmaking and setting up dates, but it's actually my job now, which I still cannot believe most days.
And isn't that incredible? The particular side hustles, the hobbies, the passion projects that we have, because I do remember, and if you want to go ahead and lead on to that a little bit as well, I remember you were being a producer of Denver 7 ABC when we first met, and then ultimately going from that to what you're doing right now. It's incredible just being able to really just transition to that entrepreneur status and having the direct distinction of being your own boss.
Right. I mean, I have seen you do the same thing. So I think it's been very interesting too, as both of us have evolved a lot over the past 4 years. So it's been interesting to see that, and it's like, where are we going to be 4 years from now? We'll do a recap on both podcasts.
Absolutely. Yes, I will be on the Ghosted podcast at some time. Let the record show on this episode, and let me put that into the universe. But we are getting ahead of ourselves because we've been talking
I
so
know.
much about being entrepreneurs. I have forgotten to ask what the social is. So, Abby, can you shed a little bit of light for my guests, my audience right here, as to
Yeah.
what the social modern matchmaking is?
Totally. We should probably explain that because I also think a lot of people don't even know what a matchmaker does. And there are actually lots of us out there. So I am based in Denver, Colorado, and work with just singles in Colorado who want to meet in a more intentional and authentic way. So I set up blind dates, I host singles events to help connect people, build community, and just obviously with the goal, help people get into healthy relationships. So that also might involve coaching, styling, astrology, as Jordan teased in the beginning, anything that helps people feel more confident and put their best foot forward. So we're really all about creating a community because being single can feel lonely, but it shouldn't because it should be fun. It shouldn't be frustrating. So that's really my goal, is to help people look at dating from the mindset of fun and introduce them to great people along the way.
Well, we know what the social is about. We know how the social has been able to deliver a lot of value to your clients. But what I really, and we talked about this earlier in the episode, is the why. The why, if it does not make you cry, I do not believe it is big enough, and you have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what that why
Mm.
is. So, Abby, what is the why for the social? Why did the social come to you, and why did you feel this had to be something that needed to be created for the world to see and for you to be a source of inspiration for a lot of people, including me, who are single, that are really looking for that next level type of status, if you will?
Right. I mean, my big overarching why is to, in some way, leave the world better than I found it. So right now, matchmaking is scratching that itch of my why. And, if we kind of go more like, a little deeper or even more surface level, I guess, in terms of why I do matchmaking, is because it is really hard to find connection and to meet people, whether it's for friendship, for business, for romance. Jordan, you've seen, I think, over the course of us being together, all three of those different connections happen for you. So, I think it's really difficult to connect. I think the pandemic made things even more difficult. So I just want to show people that you can connect with great people and that you also don't need to date 100 people. You just need to date a handful of really great people and figure out when you like the most and spend time with them.
Absolutely. And she is absolutely right on the money. I've told a lot of people about my journey coming into entrepreneurism, even being able to do a lot of my things on my own, including podcasting. And I've told so many people already about Leo Rydell and Desmond Lawrence.
Leo, it does. Oh, love it.
Here's a fun fact, everybody, and I have not mentioned this before on this show. All of this does not happen. Those connections do not happen if I do not meet Abby and I accept her invitation to go to her launch party to meet Leo and Desmond. I just want to throw that little nugget out there for everybody.
It's pretty crazy. And, I think I mean, I'm amazed and I love that you guys connected there. And, I think one of the things that to remind single people of, or really anyone of who want to make new connections, just going with an open mind, which Jordan, I think has like served you so well, where you're just like, hey, I'm going to go meet some new people. Who knows what will come of it? Maybe we'll start a podcast together.
Who knows, right? And then Keeping It 100 podcast was born, and then that led into what I was doing with the X Squad Radio Network, which led me into Forex trading, and here we are. So it's so crazy, as
Wow.
you mentioned it, how just that meeting, just that initial seed that was planted, has now blossomed, at least for me, into a tree of independence, a tree of financial prosperity. And then as we stop being so selfish about me and let's go back to you, right? We go from
This is
that
your show,
initial,
Jordan.
but you are my guest. There is a equal, give and take, just like in any great relationship, there needs
Ah.
to be a give and take. So
Mhm.
we come back now and we're done with the launch party. We know we're done with the social, and now as it has evolved into such an enormous, just organ, what do I like to call it? A service, a relationship service, dating service of not just, events like speed dating and all that good stuff, but there are also other services that you provide, courses, workshops, and I can't do it justice just because, admittedly, to be transparent, I have not been as committed to going to these events as I should. So what I would like you to do is talk a little bit more about those services that the social provides. If we could just go into a little bit more depth for the audience to understand the powerful, what I'd like to call service oriented mindset that you provide to your clients.
Oh, of course. So I know I mentioned matchmaking is the biggest thing, the heart and soul of it all. And that is setting up dates. So, Jordan comes to me and says, I'm looking for XYZ. And I say, okay, this person is XYZ. Why don't you two go out on a date, see where it goes? So making those introductions, I interview people all day, every day, making sure that I'm only bringing people into my sphere that are seriously looking for commitment, that is monogamous, have, financial stability, have job stability, and have some kind of passions in life. So the matchmaking part is a lot of trusting my intuition and setting up those dates, making sure things match up on paper, and also making sure no one gets ghosted. So following up on the dates, seeing how things went. And our database is at just about 1,000 single people right now, which is
1,000.
wild. Yes. It's give or take a little bit because obviously people get into relations, out of relationships,
Right.
and join the database every day. So that is a big part. And then also people hire me to be their matchmaker. Beyond that, I also help people with their dating apps. So we do photo shoots, we write bios, we write prompts, and help people approach dating apps in a healthier, more fun, and less burnout-y kind of way. And then you also mentioned courses. We got a course on online dating. We got a course on dating mindset. We got events. Oh my God. Okay, I think we covered it.
Well, I just want to go ahead and just kind of come back to how some of these services are absolutely immeasurable in value. I recently,
Thank you.
absolutely, but oh, there goes my camera. Uh-oh, here we go.
Oh no, I was like, Jordan just turned into
See
a
that
blob.
I turned into a ghost, but right there, I just turned into a ghost. But as far as the going back to the immeasurable value that you provided me, so you touched upon the dating app makeover. So I was privy enough to not only be able to take part in that, but I was also able to meet one of your amazing photographers, Andy, that was able to go ahead, take my photo shoots, make me look good, turn this slop right here into somebody that is actually
Oh
presentable.
yeah, right. We had a good canvas.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you. I'm very grateful. Again, your check's in the mail. Do not worry. But I'm serious when it comes to that immeasurable value that you provided me. Just one particular person in your database. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, that has also gotten that service because, as you had said, you had a database of a particular amount of people that, admittedly, to be transparent with everybody, may fluctuate between being active singles and, well, singles that are no longer singles. And I think that's the pretty absolute beautiful part of doing this, is being able to really connect singles with people that, well, don't allow them to be single anymore, for lack of a better word.
Right. And it's like you can kind of pick and choose your own adventure of how you want to interact with me or other single people. If singles events are your jam and you love being around big groups, you could do that. If you more like one-on-one, you can have me just set up your dates. If you're like, hey, I kind of like dating apps and I just want to try that out, we do the photo shoot and help you approach that in a better way too. So Jordan, thank you for giving me this platform to just talk about everything that I love doing.
Well, we did not talk about everything that you love doing because
What do we miss?
Well, we talked about the social a whole lot. However, we did not talk about your amazing podcast that you have called the Ghosted Podcast.
Gotta
So
talk about that.
if we want to go ahead and bring the concept of the value letter, right? So of course we have the social somewhere, and then, we go up and up and up and up with all the amazing things that you do. But for those that are really looking for what I'd like to call a entry point, I really do believe the Ghosted Podcast is a perfect way to start. So let's talk about the Ghosted Podcast a little bit more.
Right. And I should have looked up before we came on here because Jordan and I did an episode together. I can't remember what number, but
that's okay. We'll do another one very shortly.
I know, we definitely will. So you want to go check out the episode with Jordan and I because it was a really good one. And we talked about all kinds of good things. I think like knowing what you're looking for and good mindsets. And yeah, the Ghosted Podcast is all about navigating our modern dating world, whether that's, figuring out crazy new dating terms like ghosting. I just did one on half-masting. I promise that's not sexual, but you could go look up and listen to what that is. We also talk about jealousy, polyamory, everything in between that might come up as you are trying to date. And there's honestly an episode for everybody, whether you are a single mom, a divorced dad, a 20-something that's never dated, or, 80 years old and just trying to find someone to spend more time with. So you could definitely go check it out anywhere you listen to podcasts, the Ghosted Podcast, and you'll see our little ghost text bubble logo. And Jordan, will have you back on very soon.
Absolutely. And it's so funny because the reason I really love this particular show is, a fellow podcaster talking to one and having the decorum, having the voice to do a podcast. I've definitely seen it, not just because, I was on there, right? I'm not trying to promote that particular appearance, but there's another particular episode that I recently listened to that I made a Instagram post about. And for those that don't know, I am very much in the realm of spirituality. I do believe that business and love and spirituality can definitely go together. And I am a big believer in astrology. I'm a big believer in birth cards, which is what I want to go ahead and transition into. So
I love it. Wait, real quick. I found our episode. Just so everyone knows, it's about chemistry versus compatibility. So if you Google Jordan Rosario Ghosted Podcast, you'll find it. Quick plug.
Thank you. And we'll be sure to go ahead and highlight that particular episode in one of my social media posts. So you definitely want to make sure you're following me. Facebook, Jordan Rosario, Instagram, Jordan Rosario 777. And don't you worry, Abby, we're going to make sure we get those social media handles from you too before we get going, because that is important. That is the high pressure question of the interview. But we'll get to that in just a moment. But coming back now to astrology, birth cards. One of my favorite episodes that I recently listened to was one that you did with Nadia, who has her own business, Cards of Astrology. And I know that you have a very amazing partnership together where you also help people when it comes to that matchmaking legacy quality that you have. So go ahead and talk about that a little bit more with me.
Yeah, so honestly, this all came about in 2020 when the show Indian Matchmaking came out. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but they just had a new season and there was a bit of astrology involved in that show. And I started getting requests for, can you do this? Do you do anything with astrology? And I found Nadia of Cards and Astrology and we connected and just kind of instantly hit it off. I mean, probably because of our connection. And, we have been working together ever since. So that was 2 years ago. So we started in a pandemic, never even met each other. And we basically use her cards of destiny and the love cards to kind of help, honestly, confirm my intuition on matches and also kind of help my clients navigate what those connections might feel like. So I know, Jordan, if you're okay with me saying this, we are kind of working right now. You're working with Nadia. And I know we were going to probably talk about this week or next week. Do you want to know these connections before you go on the date? Do you want to know them after? And then to kind of feel it out and see, what does this type of connection feel like? And what does that one feel like? It's kind of a cool experiment and research to do.
Well, the beautiful thing is you're absolutely right. Without you two meeting, I would have not met Nadia, and she has been an absolutely amazing spiritual teacher for me. Some of you may know from my Instagram post that I have been absolutely going insane with some of the relationship readings that I've been doing for myself. So that has been an absolute amazing value to me. Of course, I know my birth card, and we can go ahead and get into that. But what I figured what was so cool, so we talked about some of the connections that we may be getting into a little bit later off screen in the future, which that's a sneak peek for me, right? But one thing
maybe we got to do an episode with the three of us. That could be fun.
Yes. Where's my pen? Let me write that down. Okay. So coming back to what we were about to talk about, what I found is so cool, and I want to make sure I'm getting this right, but I believe that if we want to go ahead and talk about one of these particular connections so that people can get a better understanding on how the birth cards work, I believe that you are my moon card based on this particular system. So to someone who is looking for a relationship, again, friendship, networking ship, relationship, business ship, doesn't matter. It is what I call a relationship, and relationships are key when it comes to this particular journey that you are on. What is the moon connection, and how important is it when developing, establishing, and maintaining a relationship?
Right. I mean, that one can be really good in romantic relationships, and Nadia can check us on this, but I feel like as I've been learning from her and you have, we can probably explain it pretty well. So in some connections, there are connections with like all the different planets and then you can have like 8 to 10 connections with every human. So it's a bit complicated, but if we at least want to talk about like the moon connection, where one person is moon and the other is sun. So the sun is the leader, the moon is the follower. And if you have this connection where someone's your moon, you just think they're great and you want to like go along with what they're up to. So, that is a good one to have in really any relationship, but romantic relationships especially can be really great.
And I'm sure there are so many other important connections that we can dive into as well.
We should get Nadia, and we need like an hour.
I know. Unfortunately, we do not have an hour because I know, just like me, we're both entrepreneurs. We have busy schedules, so I know time is almost running out. We got about a little bit more time left to go. So one thing I do need to ask, especially because for me, it is so important to be a student and a master at the same time. Having those energies together, you combine that into a teacher. So with that being said, my question to you is there one important story in your life that you feel comfortable sharing that can serve as a teachable moment to some of our audience members that are listening to this episode? And also, on top of that, what is one action step that you can recommend someone to do in order to follow their dreams and take destiny by the horns?
Ooh, I love it. Okay, do you want this to be related to dating or more about business?
Anything. Whatever you feel is in your soul.
Okay, I love it. Let's just, since we're on the topic of dating, we'll do dating. So, I think one thing, honestly, I tell people I made every mistake in the book, which is kind of how I came to this place of wanting to help other people with dating. I went on, I started out on every dating app. I went on like 75 dates in 6 months, and I had no intentions of meeting anyone. I had just all the intentions of like going out and having fun. And while that was good, kind of what I have learned and now what I teach people is having fun should be your number one priority, but also having the intention behind it of why am I here? Like it's going back to our big why. You should have a why in dating. And that could be to find a casual relationship. It could be to get married. It could be to find a serious relationship. It could be to learn about yourself. So figuring out that why for your dating, and then also figuring out how you can make dating fun. So figuring out the outlets and ways to meet people that give you energy in life rather than sucking it from you and burning you out is really key. And if everything is burning you out, then take a break, please, because Jordan, as you know, the energy you put out is what you're going to attract
get back.
it. Exactly. So if you're putting out that fun, I'm looking for a relationship and just seeing what comes of it energy, you're probably going to get people that are in a similar place. But if you're coming up from that place of I'm burnt out, I don't know what I want, oh my God, there's no one out there for me, then you're only going to attract people who will probably confirm that for you. So, I think that's a really important part of dating. And I did it the wrong way initially. And I think it took me a long time to figure out exactly how to make a relationship work and, how to attract the right person as well. And I've been saying something interesting lately to so many people that dating apps work for many people, but they don't work for most people. So if they're not working for you, do not fret, because literally every single call I have every day starts with, I tried dating apps and I hate them. So I just want everyone to know you're not alone. If you're not getting any matches, if you're just not getting any dates from those matches, it's not just you. I hear it all day, every day.
And trust me, you are not the only one to be making relationship dating mistakes. I am. If there was if there was like a big giant arrow as who's the biggest dunce when it comes to dating, if I had that effect, now listen. I'm vulnerable enough to admit that I have made mistakes, but the lesson that we could take here is that you're supposed to make these mistakes so that you can grow. So I definitely am more confident in myself. I do believe that some of those mistakes I have been making where I wasn't necessarily confident, and intention. I think that is so important when you bring up intention, and why I advocate for everyone to journal down what it is that you're looking for in a life partner. Yes, we do want to go ahead and make sure the number one thing is to have fun. I think with dating, we could always take it so, I know I do. I take it so seriously. It's like, oh, I got to find this girl right here. She's got to be the one. It's like, well, not necessarily, just have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's something, go for it. And if there's not something, then that's okay. You just move on to the people that come into your life. I always think of it like this. It's like marketing. You're always going to, what I like to consider, come across all of the rejections until you get to that yes moment.
Right. And it's hard to handle those rejections. It's not easy on anyone to be rejected or to have, maybe 5 dates in a row just not work out and you don't have that connection. So, it's kind of figuring out too how to handle that rejection, and also knowing like it's all getting you closer to your person. And we all have the power to choose our person. So know that you can reject people, you can accept people, like that is up to you who you choose to bring into your life. So be picky, but not too picky, and definitely don't settle, because I firmly believe there are multiple ones out there for everybody, depending on the time and place and where you're at in your life. So there's not just one soulmate and that's your only hope, because that is just too much pressure on anybody.
Absolutely. Know that. Remember, you're supposed to have fun when it comes to this life experience. Don't put too much pressure on yourselves. Don't make the mistakes that Abby and I have did, and
make them and learn from them.
or that too, right? We don't put too much pressure on making mistakes either. But Abby, this has been an absolutely amazing time here on the show. Abby, the people desire to know not only how they can check you out, but for a single guy like me, a single gal that's out there, a single entrepreneur that's out there, they're not only looking for love, but they're also looking for connections to grow their business as well. So, Abby, where can we check you out?
Oh, Okay, we'll give you all the shameless plugs. So number one, if you are interested in matchmaking, you should honestly just text me 303-842-4762 and say, hey, I heard you on Jordan's podcast and I would love to see who you might have for me. And we'll set up a time. That is literally the quickest and easiest way. But if you're not yet ready for that, you can also head to our website, Thesocialmm, as in modern matchmaking.club, because we are an exclusive club for singles. And you can follow us on IG at Thesocialmm. You can follow me at Modern Yenta, Yenta. You can follow us on Facebook, Thesocialmm. And you can also listen to the podcast, the Ghosted Podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts. We're on all the platforms. And I think that's everything. Did I get it all,
Sure?
Jordan?
Are you sure? Wait a minute. You know,
Yeah.
I was writing your phone number down. I was writing your phone number down, and I totally forgot that I was using my pen that died. So I need to go ahead and rewrite that phone number. What was that again?
Oh, yeah. And for the people who missed it, 303-842-4762. And Jordan, you got my digits. Come on.
I know. It's as if I was trying to repurpose getting that phone number plug in for you. Anyway,
Thank you.
that is exactly how come I make the big bucks here on this show. Just kidding. We're just starting out, but that's okay, right?
Hey, you got to start somewhere, and you are a great host. And I'm so glad that you invited me to join.
And just to give it like this, everybody, from one entrepreneur to another entrepreneur, do not be afraid to start small, because when you start, it can take you to big places. And yet here we are, living on top like nobody's business.
I love it. Thank you, Jordan.
Absolutely. So for my dear friend, Abby Rosenblum, this has been Jordan Rosario of the World Changing Podcast. And before we go, I submit to you 3 very important statements. I submit to you to be great. I submit to you to be favored. And I submit to you to be the person that you desire and that you're destined to become. Thank you.